Police in Brantford have canceled an Amber Alert for a 2-year-old girl. Officials say the child has been found and is safe. Earlier, the police had issued an alert saying Heather McManus was believed to be with her father, Sean McManus. They say the father was last seen yesterday at 12:18 a.m., leaving Brantford in a vehicle with 2 adult females. Police say the vehicle was found in Hamilton, but the father and daughter weren't with the vehicle. On Tuesday, City Police arrested 27-year-old Derek DeRasp of No Fixed Address for possession of a controlled substance for the purpose of trafficking. Officers approached DeRasp in the west end of the city for breach of recognizance, and he fled on foot. Officers arrested him a short time later and located about 19 grams of cocaine and 1 gram of crystal meth in the area. Officers also conducted a search of the accused and located a knife that opens with centrifugal force. DeRasp is charged with 1 count of possession for trafficking, 1 count of possession, unauthorized possession of a prohibited weapon, 5 counts of possession of prohibited weapon while prohibited, and 6 counts of breach of recognizance. He was held for bail court. The RCMP say the suspects in the murders of an American woman and her Australian boyfriend, as well as the death of another man in northern British Columbia, left a burnt-out vehicle 2 provinces over in Manitoba.
With respect to public safety, we understand the concerns being raised. This is a complex, ongoing investigation involving multiple jurisdictions. We are engaged with police forces across Canada. We are investigating all tips and are continuing to ask for the public's assistance. We are also reminding everyone that these suspects should not be approached, and if you do see them, to call 911 or your local police immediately.
U.S. House Republicans and Democrats had very different reactions to former special counsel Robert Mueller's testimony yesterday. House Democrats said there's still a case to be made to the country. Republicans said Democrats need to move on.
We want to have the strongest possible case to make a decision as to what path we will go down, and that is not endless in terms of time or endless in terms of the information that we want. But if it comes to a point where the cone of silence and the obstruction of justice and the cover-up in the White House prevents us from getting that information, that will not prevent us from going forward. In fact, it's even more grounds to go forward.
I challenge the Democratic colleagues, get over the election of 2016. Run in 2020 if you want. This president has put forward a great economy. This president's put forward great ideas. Run on those. Quit trying to dredge up a picture that today got painted that said your investigation is over. Mr. Mueller's done his job. He presented a report. Someone asked, did you find out anything new? The answer.
Facebook users and critics expressed skepticism and disappointment over the Federal Trade Commission's settlement with the company, which includes a $5 billion fine for privacy violations and new oversight and restrictions on its business.
Most importantly, the settlement today contains no limits at all on how Facebook collects and uses and shares the personal information of its users. We think that for a company the size of Facebook, $5 billion is not a sufficient incentive for them to refrain from violating people's privacy in the future. And so overall, we view the agreement today between Facebook and the FTC as a missed opportunity that is not enough to protect consumer data privacy.
Maxime Bernier says that if he becomes prime minister, his government would slash immigration and refugee numbers, build a fence to block asylum seekers from walking across the border, and end a program that lets immigrants sponsor their families to join them. With his People's Party of Canada barely touching 2% in opinion polls, the Quebec MP chose to hit one of his key themes at an event in Mississauga last evening. He pledged to reduce the number of immigrants admitted to Canada each year to 100,000 or 150,000 at most if the economy and other circumstances allow that many. Canada currently admits about 350,000 immigrants. Bernier said Canada must look after its own citizens first and focus on newcomers who bring economic value to the country. He denounced mass immigration and extreme multiculturalism, saying that these policies would lead to social conflicts and potentially violence. These ideas have nothing to do with freedom, his speech said, but rather a very dangerous type of social engineering. He identified Islamism, or political Islam, as a threat to our values and way of life. The federal health minister warned yesterday in a letter to her Ontario counterpart that eliminating out-of-country health insurance could jeopardize access to necessary medical care and become a hardship for some travelers. Ginette Petitpas-Taylor said the move announced by Premier Doug Ford's Progressive Conservative government will hurt people who travel regularly to the United States. Petitpas-Taylor said in her letter to Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott that even modest increases could pose a hardship for some individuals. If all publicly financed reimbursement of out-of-country physician and hospital services is eliminated, private health insurance premiums for travelers will inevitably rise for all Ontario residents, she said. The program currently covers out-of-country inpatient services up to $400 a day for a higher level of care, such as intensive care, for instance, as well up to $50 per day for emergency outpatient and doctor services. In May, Elliott announced the decision to scrap the program following a 6-day public consultation, saying it's very costly and does not provide value to taxpayers. The change is expected to come into effect October 1st. A spokesperson for Elliott confirmed yesterday that the government intends to wind down the program and strongly encourages people to purchase travel health insurance. Meanwhile, as we told you, yesterday Petitpas-Taylor was in the Soo for discussions on the opioid crisis and senior care.